Hello, I'm Jay Reagan with the 30 News. Today is the second day of voting for positions on the University of Windsor Students' Alliance. This has been one of the most controversial elections in recent memory. Among the issues, there are complaints that rules were changed to favor slates over candidates running independently, and that the chief returning officer has not followed electoral regulations he is sworn to enforce. As well, he opened up campaigning again yesterday for candidates. Ashley Quinton brings us up to date.
Slates have always been a part of the UWSA's past.
There is nothing illegal about candidates running as slates. However, a number of important positions are being acclaimed. For example, there is only one person running for president. Hussein Zarif, a member of the United Windsor Slate, running for the position of Vice President of Academic Affairs, says slates have always existed on the U Windsor campus, whether students knew it or not.
Candidates would run, even though if they're running individually, would support other candidates running the elections. Whether or not it was on record or off record, it was dishonest to students, saying that we're voting for individual candidates who all stand for individual values, but really they're secretly working together behind the scenes.
Zarif admits that individuals are at a disadvantage running against a slate, but claims that the disadvantage has always been there, and the change in election policy made it more transparent. Zarif explains the benefits of slates.
Candidate affiliation allows for is a more productive student union by allowing people with similar ideals and similar goals to work towards that. But that doesn't mean that we're not a diverse group of individuals from different programs with different opinions.
Last year, individual candidates finished 2 and 3 positions lower than those running in slates. In reaction to the controversy over this year's UWSA vote, a none of the above movement has emerged. You may have seen some of these posters on campus, and these banners popped up Friday morning. Obviously, the campaign is intended to encourage voters to reject the slate.
What we're working on right now is a petition to have the nomination period reopened.
He explains that the recent changes to election policy give an advantage in funding to slates over individuals, and if an individual did win, he or she would be alienated by the other 5 executive members. If nomination periods do open up, it says that students should try to form a slate if they want to be serious competition for Windsor United.
That way we can get the message out to more students that there, first of all, is an election. It's one of the major problems we found is that the election period wasn't properly promoted on campus, and so that's likely a reason why there are so few people running.
The chief returning officer, Sharat Gill, stated that the nomination campaign was open and students were notified of the upcoming elections. When asked if there was a correlation between slates and the lack of candidates this year, Gill had this to say.
I believe there's no correlation between slates and election policy. Secondly, it's a student choice or an individual choice. If they want to run, we had nominations open for, a long time.
Gill says individuals and slates have campaign teams to help them run, so it's hard to understand why they wouldn't run. He also stated that the funding on a per-candidate basis is relatively the same. Gill believes that individual candidates have an advantage over slates.
In my view, the one advantage that candidate has over a slate, the slate is considered as a one candidate. So if a complaint comes, then the whole slate is punishable.
The UWSA election isn't the first controversial vote on campus. 2 weeks ago, students voted in a referendum on whether to support the so-called BDS movement, Boycott, Divest, and Sanctions movement, against Israel. 30 reporter Jenna Bontorin provides us with background on the BDS vote.
We always try to make it clear whenever we do any sort of Palestinian activism that the target is not Israelis, it's not Jews, it's not any one ethnic, religious, or national group, it's specifically against policies.
The Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions campaign has brought a hot-button issue to the University of Windsor. The referendum asks students whether to support the BDS campaign aimed at creating economic sanctions against companies that profit from Israeli war crimes. With an ethnically diverse campus, many students are concerned of the tensions this will create between certain demographics. Bringing this campaign to the University of Windsor Student Alliance was the Palestinian Solidarity Group. The 30 sat down with Mohammed Al-Moyad, president of the group.
The rules in the UWSA say you need to get a petition from the members, you need to get about 500 signatures, and then present it to the council, and then go through this long process of getting it approved and, you know, setting up the timeline. Before approving it, they required their lawyer to look over the question and make sure it didn't contradict any of their bylaws or their constitution or their obligation towards different, you know, legalities that they have to be concerned about.
Al-Moyad also clarifies why boycott, divestment, and sanctions should become a student issue.
It's not just simply taking a stance on the issue, it's specifically dealing with our money, with student money. Students care about how their money is spent. And so the main part of the referendum asks to divest student money that goes to UWSA from any company which might be involved in a war crime against Palestinians. And really it's a matter of people's perspective when it comes to what students and student unions are supposed to be involved in.
The 30 sat down with Jacob DeYoung, Vice President University Affairs for the UWSA, who had issues with the wording of the question.
That question and that wording has been asked at multiple other universities, and that was the biggest sticking point for the Palestinian Solidarity Group, which is the group that brought it forward. They said because it's happened at other campuses that that's the question they wanted to follow, so that everyone, all the different universities, has the exact same recommendations and the same ability to follow the structure of what happened. My concern mostly was that I really don't care what other universities said or what wording they used. If it goes against our constitution or bylaws and it's not clear, it shouldn't be asked to students.
Political science professor Dr. Jamie Essex weighs whether or not a campaign such as BDS is effective in the realm of global political economy.
Sanctions on their own from one university are probably not going to be effective in the long term, but this is why it's a BDS movement. So they're part of a much larger international movement. I think in combination with other organizations as part of a concerted movement, then they become much more effective because there's multiple groups. I think also the boycott is not just about products. I mean, there has been debate about boycotting Israeli institutions. So for universities that can be important because it means perhaps breaking relationships you have with Israeli universities.
Thursday night, the UWSA agreed to President Adam Windelman's request that they postpone the ratification of the referendum outcome until his investigation of the referendum process is complete. He has hired social justice lawyer Raj Anand to help with the investigation. Students are invited to contact him with any concerns. The 30.ca will be following this and the elections. Stay tuned next week for more. Now, on a lighter topic, how many vegetables do you eat a week? How many of those are baked, boiled, or deep fried? Healthy living is something that many students may not think about on a daily basis. Although living a healthy lifestyle in school can boost concentration and productiveness, Danielle Latendresse speaks with students and health professionals to see what students can be doing to be more fit and healthy.
To stay healthy, you eat healthy, exercise, and, just keep your body in check. Don't give in to your cravings too much, is pretty much what it is. I'd say my main staple is chicken and eggs. It's the easiest thing to make, it's easy to make a sandwich. And chicken doesn't take that long to cook either. So, it's always a quick meal and it's healthy.
Being fit and being healthy, it's under a guideline of whatever makes you happy and whatever makes you feel alive. And the biggest thing is living a lifestyle.
When you become stressed, your body produces more of a hormone called cortisol. The hormone can affect sleep and the immune system. To fight this, students should be consuming more vitamin B and magnesium.
The easiest way to remember what has magnesium is seeds and greens. So pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds would be a great thing to sprinkle on cereal in the morning. And greens like spinach salad, kales, broccoli, anything that's green will help supply you with magnesium, and eating as much of that as possible. B vitamins you can get from, again, green vegetables. One of the best things is cremini mushrooms, those little brown ones. So having a stir fry with some mushrooms every day would be a good idea. And that gets you the sort of stress fighting nutrients that you need.
There are 2 tricks to remember what you study. Number 1 being eating good fats like omega-3, fish oils, and flaxseed oil. Number 2 being short bursts of energy. Doing a 10-minute workout before you study can stimulate the memory.
The University of Windsor helps students and faculty alike maintain the balance between nutrition and fitness. They provide a variety of fitness classes, personal training, and nutrition counseling at the Forge Fitness Center on campus. I'm Danielle Latendresse with the 30.
The Dominion House Tavern is located along the main street in Sandwich Town, with a view of the Detroit River. The building itself is over 100 years old, and its success has carried into the present day. Our reporters got a chance to talk to the grandson of one of the tavern's owners and operators, Bill Marentet. Here's Irina Schiller with more.
Sandwich Town was founded in 1749, but the Marentet name has been a part of the area long before that. Local breweryist Bill Marentet welcomed us into his home to look at his collection of memorabilia from breweries here in Windsor. One in particular, the Dominion House, started as a hotel back in 1859 and was converted in 1878 into a bar. The Dominion House Tavern was owned and operated by the Marentet family from the late 1800s to 1902 by Bill's grandfather, Daniel Marentet. When asked about the history of the Dominion House and during the Prohibition era, Marentet had this to say.
The man who really put it on the map was Sid Wallman. And Sid came down here in 1948 looking for a tavern. And the price was right, and the lawyers were getting out of it, so he bought it. Professors used to give classes in the basement there. Poetry was read and everything else. Treated everybody like they were somebody. We really never had prohibition here. There was no beer. You could always get some kind of beer, whether it was 2.5% or as opposed to 9%. Okay. So you could always get a drink. They had 2 taps. If you didn't know you were a tourist, he'd give you the 2.5% beer or eventually the 4% beer. But if he knew you were a member of the neighborhood, he could pull a draft that had 9% in it. And so they didn't suffer.
There are disputes about whether or not Sandwich is worth saving due to all the hardships it's gone through recently.
It's a nice little quaint town. It's like Amherstburg, but not as nice.
But is it worth saving? Would you save it?
Well, anything's worth saving.
In 1993, the Dominion House got its official heritage status. The bar has had 15 to 16 owners since that time and is currently owned by Chris Mickle and Christian Neal. This is Irina Schiller from the other side of the bridge.
Now, for a word about some of the stories we're working on here at the 30. You may have noticed that there are a number of empty buildings or lots in Windsor, with more to come. Don Trottier has been looking into a feature report on what she calls the holes in Windsor's map.
It's not hard to spot the abandoned, neglected, or lost-looking buildings of Windsor, whether they have been recently vacated, such as the old racetrack, or the old Home Depot building, or if they've been vacant for as long as people can remember, so long that they've become a landmark of Windsor. I sat down with Ward Councillor Hilary Payne to discuss the possibility and potential for these old and abandoned buildings.
As far as using them goes, the basic question to be answered is whether they can be repurposed or not. In other words, you take 2 extreme examples. You take the Home Depot building in Devonshire Mall. That can be repurposed because it's a fairly modern building. It meets all the current building codes. It's well sited, it's well located. So it's highly likely that that can be repurposed or readapted for some other use. On the other hand, you take the Grace Hospital site, which was a classic example of a building that could not be repurposed. No matter how hard you tried, it was the economics of changing into some other purpose simply would not work. And the prospective purchaser tried and had all kinds of financial difficulties, but it was a loser from the beginning.
Over the next couple weeks, we'll be exploring the abandoned, vacant, and blighted properties in the city to determine whether or not they can be repurposed to actually benefit the city.
Thank you for joining us on the 30 News. I'm Jay Rankin. See you next time.